Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tech It Out. This is episode 234 of this weekly program. That's right, creeping up on our 5th anniversary this July. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have a great show that I want to jump right into. We're going to talk ransomware threats for businesses in a moment with BitSight. Tech expert Amber Mack will share some wellness apps and gadgets for you to be your best self in 2022. Speaking of which, Peloton has a new workout that fuses exercise with gaming and music. It's called Lanebreak. We'll learn about that. And we'll chat with Twitter on how they're making the platform less toxic with a new feature they've added, and also what's coming down the road that you probably don't know about. All of this and more on an all-new Tech It Out, powered by ASUS for those in search of incredible. I'll tell you more about them shortly, but let's get to our first interview. With damages from cybercrime expected to be in the trillions, not billions, in 2022, many experts predict ransomware attacks to play a big role here, as they're becoming more frequent with bigger payouts than in previous years, and they're becoming increasingly sophisticated as well. This is where BitSight comes in, as you'll hear with our next guest, as they've become the global standard in security ratings, so you can see how your company fares as it pertains to risk. Joining us on the line to chat is Vanessa Jankowski. She's Vice President and General Manager of Third-Party Risk Management at BitSight. Welcome to the show, Vanessa. Good to chat with you.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Now, before we talk about ransomware threats specifically, please give us a bit of a BitSight 101, if you will.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So BitSight is a cybersecurity ratings and analytics firm. We're all about making the world a safer, more secure place. And we do that by really enabling folks across the digital economy to make better decisions about cyber risk. So BitSight security rating gives businesses, governments, insurers a sort of objective, consistent measure of cybersecurity performance. Our security ratings are just like a credit rating. So we're using a scale of 250 to 900. And what we're trying to do is really translate these meaty, complex, really gnarly security risk issues into business context that people can understand.
Yeah, well, already by comparing it to a credit score, I think a lot of our listeners will get it. You know, you're providing that service for businesses and mostly enterprise, as well as governments and other organizations. The lower the number, the more risk is associated after your analysis.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And congratulations, by the way. I understand BitSight just closed its fiscal year at the end of January with record revenue and growth. So that's great to hear. All right. So what are the enterprise ransom risks out there today? And are they greater now than in previous years?
Yeah. So maybe we can start with what ransomware is. So ransomware is essentially malicious software that gets into your system. It encrypts your data. I mean, that's insulting enough on its own. But then the next step is that they actually demand payment from the victim before they can get their information back. And so this is really bad news when it comes to your business, but it's also a really profitable trend for bad actors out there.
And generally, the rule of thumb used to be never pay, right? Never pay when there's an extortion. We are holding your files hostage until you pay. But I think things may have changed over the years, and that's disconcerting on a few levels.
Right. Because I think the minute you pay, you start to send a signal that, hey, you're a target that might be worth revisiting in the future. And it's really it's problematic. I mean, you asked, are these risks greater now than ever before? And I think this ransomware activity can have a really crippling effect on your ability to run your business. Mm-hmm. And so we see this in hospitals, in gas and oil pipelines, and railways. We've seen it in food production facilities. And so it's really impactful to the business. It can cause disruption of service. It can cause data loss. It can cause financial loss. It gives you a really poor impact on your reputation. But it's also impactful to people. So it's impactful to you. It's impactful to me because these things, they have a ripple effect that carries through to consumers and customers. And again, really, really just problematic across the board.
Yeah, for sure. It could be a PR nightmare. Even as a consumer, as you said, as a customer, imagine reading in the news that your favorite retailer was hacked and that, millions of names and phone numbers and credit card numbers were breached. Obviously, you're going to lose trust in that retailer and you may decide to shop elsewhere. So that ripple effect is real. Talk to us about the risks to third-party vendors. And if I'm not mistaken, to clarify here, we're talking about another company that you may be working with, like a bank that decides to outsource their payroll to a third party, for example.
That's exactly right. And so the sort of relationship that you just described it's one example of this digital supply chain. And so I think one thing I would say also is that this trend that we're seeing is really the result of this domino effect of different reinforcing trends that have happened over the last few years. Mm-hmm. And so COVID sort of forced digital transformation to happen faster than ever before.
For sure.
People are working remotely for the first time. Businesses are sort of being forced to use digital providers or digital solutions that maybe they weren't using in the pre-COVID era. And so this sort of notion of working with third-party vendors to carry out key parts of your business. So you mentioned the example of a retailer. That retailer might rely on a third-party payment processor who holds all the credit card numbers and personal information of their customers. Mm-hmm. And so you can't really get by in this day and age without some reliance on third-party vendors. And increasingly, those third-party vendors have a sort of digital relationship with you. The minute you add a new vendor to the mix, you're really introducing new risk. And so this is true for other types of risk too, but from a cyber perspective, it's really kind of incredible just given the dynamic risk that exists in cybersecurity today. Mm-hmm. And so there's suddenly this new set of entry points for attackers to take advantage of. There's a new set of diligence that you have to be worried about in terms of sort of making sure you are safe, making sure that your organization and your data and your systems are safe.
All right, so you've done a good job introducing the problems, but now let's talk about the solutions. How can BitSight help prevent and continuously monitor a company's third-party risk?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the most amazing things about the BitSight security rating is that it's correlated with real business outcomes like breach, like ransomware, and even stock performance. We're creating that security rating based on a tremendous amount of security data that's updated continuously every day. And that makes it incredibly effective in actually measuring and managing cyber risk, mm-hmm. including for third parties.
It's not just a snapshot in time, but it evolves.
That's right. So it gives you a way to see really clearly how your third parties are performing over time and also where they aren't performing. So the ideal approach to actually managing that third party risk is to take that insight. And we talked about the rating being correlated to ransomware, correlated to breach. You want to put that to work within your process and within your business operations. And so you want to basically take that insight and use it to identify places where you need to put attention, and you need to put effort and investment. And so a lot of businesses will use vendor risk management platforms to actually manage the sort of incoming new vendors that they're working with, evaluate their security performance. Mm-hmm. And BitSight gives them an objective way to do that.
During the onboarding process, yeah.
Exactly. So when they're just starting a relationship out, they'll go through this vetting process where they will actually, take the time. They might put out a questionnaire to that vendor, try to understand their security posture better. BitSight gives an objective lens on top of that. And so we work with partners like ServiceNow and VenMinder and Third Party Trust and Process Unity, folks who provide platforms that help you do that process better. And we're actually taking that objective view from BitSight and plugging it in so you can get that benefit while you're running through that process. The way to level it up is to go through a continuous version of that so that every day you have that insight. Every day you're getting alerted to changes so you can actually be proactive in mitigating that risk and managing that risk as it comes up.
And the problem with questionnaires is that a lot of organizations think that they might be doing a good job, but they're not. Whether they're just trying to convince themselves they are, or they're not looking at the right data or what have you. So this is all really important. We are chatting with Vanessa Jankowski. She's VP and GM of third-party risk management at BitSight, the leading security ratings company for businesses. And by the way, BitSight customers now include 20% of the Fortune 1000 and more than 120 government institutions across 30 countries. So obviously you're doing something right. Any other advice, Vanessa, to mitigating risk of ransomware attack?
Yeah, so BitSight's research has shown that there are specific indicators that are highly correlated with the likelihood of experiencing a ransomware attack. And so BitSight's security rating is one of them. So that's one of the measures that's really just a good demonstrator of sustained security performance over time. And a good rating is a reflection of that strong best practices in place. And what we found is that companies with a rating between 300 and 500, so that's the sort of low end of the scale, are almost 8 times as likely to experience ransomware activity as a company with a rating of 750 or above. Wow, that's
that really drives the point home.
Yeah. So that's one measure. The other measure that may be a little bit more practically helpful is that patching cadence or patch management is another thing we look at. And companies with poor practices in this area are greater than 7 times more likely to experience a ransomware event. So these numbers are a little mind-boggling, but they also make just logical sense. Mm-hmm. The folks who have invested in best practices around security are the safest.
Yeah, no doubt.
So if you can start to apply this data to the process you're actually using to evaluate evaluate your vendors or third parties, you suddenly have this powerful framework for mitigating bad outcomes in a way that really scales across a system that's just complicated.
Before we wrap up and chat about how to reach BitSight, how do you see enterprise ransomware evolving?
I would love to say we'll stop seeing it, but I'm not quite that optimistic. I think
you're not alone.
Yeah. I'm not alone, I'm sure. So I think we'll continue to see this happen. We'll continue to see it be highly, highly profitable for attackers. But the optimist in me thinks that as more organizations get access to some of these leading indicators, some of these key data points that can help you mitigate the risk of ransomware in a really productive way.
Even with companies having ransomware insurance and thus may be more willing to pay the cyber criminals, what happens to all your customer data and all that? I mean, it's not the answer. You're also fueling this criminal activity as well. So it's getting, as I mentioned in the introduction, increasingly complicated, but thankfully there are proactive tools like what BitSight offers along with your partners to preemptively prepare companies against these various risks. So with that in mind, Vanessa, what's the best call to action for our listeners, for those perhaps in the enterprise space or work for a government body?
Head on over to bitsight.com. We've got a lot of great content. Our blog is updated very often with new and really timely insight about what we're seeing in the market.
Awesome. And I've had the privilege of writing a guest blog post or two. So thank you for that. Vanessa, it's been great chatting with you. Wishing you a happy and healthy and cyber safe 2022.
Thanks so much, Mark. Appreciate it.
How can tech help you remain your best self physically and mentally in 2022? We'll learn a half dozen ways with tech expert Amber Mack when we return on Tech It Out.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Tech It Out, powered by ASUS for those in search of incredible. ASUS creates technology for today and tomorrow's smart life, and that includes its line of award-winning laptops and desktops, accessories like monitors, keyboards, and mice, and mobile tech too, like smartphones, tablets, and smartwatches. For those in search of incredible, head over to asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. We hear a lot about the February blues, the February blahs, whatever you want to call it, a time of the year where people just need a little bit extra help to stay healthy and focused and connected. For some tips, apps, and gadgets that may be able to help you get through these final months of winter and beyond, we're joined by a friend of the program, tech expert Amber Mack. Hi, Amber. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
Why don't we start with tracking wellness with wearables?
Yeah, so I know a lot of people are interested in wearables. This is the Samsung Galaxy Watch 4. It's a really great, powerful wearable that allows you to get your health data in seconds. You can use the body composition measurement tool to measure things like your body fat percentage. You can track your sleep and rest. You can also customize your watch in the bespoke studio. So a really great option if you were looking for a wearable to help with your wellness.
That's really cool. I know this has nothing to do with wellness, but I heard that in New York, it's trendy now to, like on Wall Street, not to wear a Rolex, but a smartwatch with an NFT that you own as the artwork on your smartwatch. So I think that's really a neat trend as well. Let's now talk about a laptop with long battery life.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the Acer Swift X. This is great for those on-the-go professionals. And the reason I talk about this in the context of wellness is that it's great if you're streaming an exercise class at home, or maybe you're meeting virtually with your doctor. It has a really powerful AMD processor, 13-inch display, and I think most importantly, up to 17 hours of battery life if you want to take it out with you to a cafe. I think, Mark, a lot of people are excited about maybe getting out of their home office. So this is a great pick to do that.
We should tell our listeners that all of these products can be seen at Amber's website, including pricing at ambermack.com. We'll plug it again later. But if you want to see it in action and also get pricing, it's there. So we've chatted about the Acer Swift X, the Samsung Galaxy Watch 4. And again, now that February is here, you may be, beating yourself up if you haven't yet met your New Year's resolutions. So, our intentions are good, but life kind of gets in the way. But it's not too late though. So in the past, Amber, I've talked about apps on this show like WW that can help you be your best self in 2022. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, so this is a great one. I hear from a lot of people that the new year is actually starting in February. So
there you go.
It's getting delayed every year. I'll take it too. So as you know, it is a great app that is kind of like having a wellness coach in your pocket in that they have those expert coaches. It's also science-based. So they focus on 4 pillars, which are food, activity, mindset, and sleep. The idea being that more and more of us, again, have been sitting a lot, especially over the winter months. And this encourages you to make better food choices and also do a better job of really kind of tracking those 4 different pillars. So again, it's WW and a great all-in-one app that can help you just get back on track and stay on track.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of food, so obviously they've been around for over 60 years, formerly Weight Watchers, but I like that they've introduced tweaks over the years to just yield better results. So I think their latest campaign, if I'm not mistaken, is all about their what they call personal points program. So it's more of a customized or personalized approach to what you're eating and what your 0-point foods are and all that. And I like that no foods are off the table. They say diets don't work, but you can't eat this, you can't eat that, or during these hours. But I like their approach because it's a more human approach, if you will. And for activity, a lot of people don't know there are video instructors on the WW app, so you can exercise with guided sessions, and it actually syncs with your Apple Watch or your Fitbit, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, so a lot of different options, I think, depending on exactly kind of what you want out of it, right? And the focus that you want to take. And I think you just hit the nail on the head when you said it's all about that personalized approach.
Mm-hmm. We are chatting with Amber Mack, tech expert, an author, a speaker. She does it all. She's fantastic. If you haven't followed her yet on Twitter, I encourage you to do so at Amber Mack. We are chatting about wellness tech, which includes apps and gadgets and some tips to being your best self in 2022. All right, number 4 on your list, Amber, is fighting neighborhood isolation.
Yeah, so this is called Nextdoor, and people are starting to talk more and more about apps that bring communities together. And this is a great example of that. So the idea is not to spend more time on the app. It's actually to get out and meet your neighbors. And it will connect you in a hyper local way to people who live nearby. And what I love about this, Mark, is that it allows you to do everything from create a local walking group if you want to get fit and get outside and meet some people who live nearby. Mm-hmm. Or, you could see postings for anyone who potentially needed help, whether it's shoveling snow or just needing help around the house. So it really is focused on creating kinder communities. And I think especially during these winter months, it's important to think about an app like Nextdoor in terms of that community aspect.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this app. And I also like that, a lot of people have paid down their credit card bills towards the end of January because of all their pre-holiday purchases. And you may be looking to have a little bit of extra cash in your pocket. Nextdoor is also ideal for selling things. So you can just look around your home, and not only are you decluttering, but you're getting some cash in your pocket and helping other people who may not be able to afford these items at full retail price. So it's kind of a win-win. So a lot of people are using Nextdoor, kind of like a Facebook marketplace. And then speaking of websites, ambermack.com, if you want to see what they look like, the Galaxy Watch 4 from Samsung, the Swift X from Acer, the WW app, the Nextdoor app. Thank you so much for your time, Amber. Always a pleasure chatting with you. You're such a wealth of information, and I always enjoy the way you deliver it as well. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Amber is awesome, but I do call her my frenemy because we do compete for the same gigs, but I respect her so much and have her on this show often as well. All right, when we return on Tech It Out, speaking of being your best self in 2022, Peloton will join us with what's brand new. Stay with us.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Tech It Out. You likely know all about the Peloton bikes, as well as Tread, the company's treadmill. But there's something brand new announced this week called Peloton Lanebreak. It's a new and arguably more interactive bike experience. In fact, you're going to be one of the first in the world to learn about it, as we're joined by David Packles, Senior Director of Product at Peloton, to tell us all about it. Hey, Dave, thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
Awesome. Before we talk about the Peloton Lanebreak, which is the new news this week, Give us a bit of a refresher, if you will, on Peloton and its family of at-home equipment.
Sure. So Peloton aims to bring the excitement of a live boutique fitness class into the home. We do that through a number of different products. The first and the one we're best known for is the Peloton bike. So we have coaches that are streamed directly to a beautiful screen, and members can ride along with the instruction. We also have the Peloton tread. So we have things like boot camp and strength, where our instructors are coaching members to be their best selves. Most recently, we just announced the Peloton Guide, which is a super exciting new product within our portfolio. It's going to allow members to use the best screen in their home, which is their TV, to take these amazing classes, and we'll give feedback on their form as they work out. But we also have a digital product as well. You can download our iOS app on the web, iPad app, Android, TV apps, where all of our content is available on whatever screen is best for you.
All right. So if you choose to go for digital, like you obviously, when you have the equipment, you have those video instructors. But also, even if you don't own any equipment, let's just clarify to our listeners that you can still subscribe to the Peloton video instructors. And are they live or pre-recorded or both?
Yeah, we have both. So we stream, it's like 15 to 20 classes a day live, but we also have a library of thousands of classes available on demand, ranging in length, instructor, music, genre, whatever you're looking for.
Right. For some, a particular instructor could be particularly motivating. For someone else, it could be the kind of music. They may be more into hip hop instead of hard rock, or the other way around. So it could be tailored to your individual taste. Let's now hear what's new, David. Talk to us about the Peloton Lanebreak. What's it all about? Yeah,
so Lanebreak is kind of something that we've been incubating for many years. But in general, the Peloton product has always been influenced by, some gaming mechanics, right? So one core part of the Peloton product is the leaderboard. And so when you're in a class with your favorite instructor, you can actually see everybody who's taken the class previously, or even the folks that are in the class right now, and you can give them a high five, egg them on. It's super exciting. So there's always been elements of gamification. We give you badges. There are stats to show that you're improving over time, but it was always really grounded in video content. So as technology's gotten a little bit better, and as we've grown our team and our ability to try new things, we were super excited to take it one step further into something that was a bit more explicit in this space. So Lanebreak is a 3D interactive experience that's powered by music as well as Peloton's fitness authority. So within Lanebreak, you basically control an avatar on a 6-lane track, and you use the resistance knob to move amongst the different lanes. So, the left lane is the easiest, the right is the hardest. Resistance, for those who don't know, is how hard it is to pedal.
Right.
Along that track, there are a number of different moments or challenges that come up. So some may be to just go into a certain lane and maintain cadence or just ride. Others may be to stay within a specific cadence. So cadence is how fast your legs are moving. And it'll say stay between 70 and 90 cadence. There are also other moments that require our players to charge up an object by generating output, which is basically the electricity generated by the flywheel. And so all of this is synced up to an amazing soundtrack of music. So every single level is beat synced. Everything happens on the beat, and you're really able to feel immersed in the actual experience. We're really excited about it.
So it's funny, you're calling your users players. So obviously this is truly a gamified workout. We are chatting with David Packles from Peloton to learn all about the just unveiled Peloton Lanebreak, which combines gaming-inspired fitness content and music for a different kind of interactive cardio workout. Since this is radio, David, what's the design like? Is it similar to the bike and the Bike Plus?
Yeah, it is. Building an experience like this, we certainly are informed by our brand and the elegance of that. But it certainly doesn't feel like being in a Peloton class. So let me see if I could paint a picture. Kind of imagine riding through a very clean, dark void with bright stretches of lanes in front of you, almost like a runway at night. And the avatar is a wheel that glows based on the energy that you're expelling. As you kind of turn the resistance left or right, You see that avatar move directly with you. And all of this is pulsing with a soundtrack, with great music to kind of pull it all together into a cohesive experience.
All right. So
hopefully that does all right.
Yeah.
I've never actually explained it to radio.
Well, so it's a stationary bike with a screen, and you're talking more about the software, right? What the person is seeing. But from a design standpoint, it's similar to the Bike Plus for those listeners who have one or have tried one out.
Oh, yeah. So this is happening on the screen. Yeah. So if you have a bike, right? So the software that's being run is on your bike screen. So this is a bike that has a beautiful screen on it. You can tap into a class, or you can tap into a Lanebreak workout.
So if you have an existing bike or Bike Plus, you can't access Lanebreak, right? It's also separate hardware, just to be clear.
It's available on the bike or Bike Plus.
Okay.
So it's a part of the subscription.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification. Yeah. So I thought it was a separate piece of hardware as well, like equipment.
Oh, no. This is available to any member who has a Peloton or Peloton Bike Plus, all within the same subscription. So, whether it could be, your teenager who hasn't really been into an instructor and wants to try something new, or someone else in your household, it's going to be a new way to experience Peloton that's not instructor led.
Thank you. I'm assuming that strength training and anything you would do like on a mat beside the bike or Bike Plus and all that is not supported by Lanebreak?
Not right now.
Okay.
No, Lanebreak is purely a cycling workout today.
I can see why. Yeah, because that's how you power your avatar and stuff. So I get it. All right. So as we wrap up, David, how much does Peloton Lanebreak cost? And if it is part of Bike and Bike Plus, that digital side of the service, maybe just an overview of how the subscription works and also where we can learn more about it.
Yeah, sure. So Peloton will be included with subscription with our Peloton Bike Plus or All Access subscription. So if you have a bike and are using it, you'll have it available at launch. And that is $39 a month. And that's for everybody in the family. So, if you can have, many folks on that same subscription who could log in and play Lanebreak. Our digital subscription is not available because you need a bike in order to play this.
Understood. And then, of course, the bike and the Bike Plus is a separate purchase. That's the equipment itself. And the website then, David?
It's onepeloton.com.
All right, onepeloton.com. Thanks so much for your time. Be well.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Be the very first in the country to learn about a new Twitter feature tied to safety and what the company is cooking up for the rest of 2022. You won't want to miss this. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Tech It Out.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Tech It Out, hosted by Mark Saltzman.
You're listening to Tech It Out. I'm your host, Mark Saltzman. Thank you for tuning in. Twitter. It's one of the most popular social media platforms in the country, actually in the world. And as a journalist, I rely on it for breaking news. I mean, there's simply nothing faster. But the 15-year-old Bluebird isn't resting on its laurels either, with several new features unveiled over the past while, and a new one rolling out now that you will be among the first to know about. It's called Safety Mode. Joining us on the line to chat is Cam Gordon from the communications team at Twitter. Welcome to the show, Cam. Good to chat with you.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me.
I should say welcome back to the show. Now, before we talk, Cam, about the new safety mode, please chat with us about some of the newer features Twitter has launched over the last while.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. And it's amazing. It's been, I feel like, a few months since I've been on the show. And it literally seems like we have like hundreds of new features during that time. We're always iterating on the platform. A few off the top of my head, like just in the last couple of weeks, we've introduced a new variable playback speed on videos. We're testing that on Android. We're also testing a new downvoting tool. Right. So something that can, one of our efforts to bring a bit more control over the conversations you're seeing on Twitter. You might have also caught, we just made a big announcement with the Oscars as well. For the first time, there's going to be a hashtag Oscars fan favorite vote, where you can use that hashtag to vote for your favorite film of the year on Twitter. So yeah, always lots going on. We could do this interview in like a week and I'd give you like 12 new ones. There's always lots of stuff to talk about at Twitter.
What's Twitter Blue all about?
Yeah, so Twitter Blue is our first ever paid service. So this is for a small subscription rate. I believe it's $2.99. And that's going to unlock a series of features that you won't have otherwise. Perhaps the most notable would be an undo button. So, one of the number one questions we always get, when are we getting
The edit button. Yeah, I know. I'm one of those vocal folks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the two big questions I get are the edit button and can you verify me? My answers are always like, I don't know and no. But nevertheless, with Twitter Blue, undo gives you basically like a little grace period when you've sent a tweet. It'll just show like a countdown. It's like, you sure you don't want to edit? You sure you don't want to edit? So that's one of the features. There's also different modes of like reading in a tweet thread. So I'll actually like collapse a tweet thread into like a single, almost like into a single like quote unquote document for a bit of a cleaner reading experience. Also, this is actually something else we introduced recently, and maybe we can touch on this a bit more later in the interview, but also you can have an NFT profile photo for Twitter Blue subscribers, which is very cool. So
yeah, and just to bring everyone up to speed, of course, it's a non-fungible token. This is a piece of digital art that you own, and you can make it your profile photo within Twitter. And I've seen that reactions have been mixed, but it's certainly great to see Twitter offering this to those who want it.
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's been interesting also to see whose profile photos change right away when we announce that. It's a good way to identify those early adopters on our service.
Yeah.
They switch over to NFTs very quickly.
Awesome. All right. So Cam, let's now chat about the safety mode feature. What's it all about?
Yeah, so I touched on the fact that at Twitter, we're always looking for ways to give people a bit more control over what they're seeing on our service. So depending on how you use Twitter, obviously for certain types of users, they might see conversations that are maybe a bit more sharp, a bit more, at times, even confrontational. Mm-hmm. And this new tool, safety mode, just gives people another option in a way to like really curate what they're seeing on Twitter and to bring a bit more control over the type of interactions they're having. So essentially, safety mode is something you can switch into. And when you go into safety mode with your profile, this is something you can enable in the settings. What this will do is it'll put almost like you can think of it as like a new layer of monitoring, where if you're getting a lot of interactions from other accounts that seem, let's just call them unwanted, that could be they're using very strong language, or maybe, they're operating in a manner where, you're getting a lot of replies from the same account that seems like it's either in an automated or just like a very consistent manner. This, if you're within the safety mode, it will actually auto block those type of accounts for 7 days. It'll just give those accounts a bit of a timeout. You'll get a bit of air cover on your experience. And that's all something that will happen in the background in an automated fashion when you're in safety mode.
That's cool. So is this separate then from the ability to choose who can reply to your tweets? Like only people that follow you as an extension of that?
No, it's a totally separate feature. But I mean, I would say, again, it's within this broader bucket of tools and settings that we're giving our people on Twitter. Again, more control. So if you do want to limit replies to your tweets, you can do that. You can also, it's actually something we just introduced, I think it was in the last few months, where you can now almost do that on the fly too. So if you tweet something and all of a sudden you're getting all these replies, you're like, I don't like the looks of these, or I don't want to, you can actually switch it midstream, where before you had to set that when you sent out the tweet with that feature. But yeah, the safety mode is completely separate from that. But again, within this broader bucket of tools that we're giving people on Twitter.
And I applaud Twitter for that. That's awesome. Who would you say this is for exactly, this safety mode?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, as we know, there's certain people on Twitter will get more unwanted interactions than others. So I'll just say this is really for anybody. But if you're the type of user where maybe you're getting a lot of unwanted interactions, and I think the part of the reason we made this just a 7-day feature where you switch it on and it runs for a week, is that depending on the type of things you tweet about or certain topics that might be in the news cycle, or maybe even like times of year, there might be times where you want to slip into safety mode for a week or a couple of weeks.
We're going to continue chatting with Cam from Twitter in a moment, so stick with us. We're also going to get a bit of an exclusive preview as to what's coming in 2022 that hasn't yet been announced. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want.
We We are chatting with Cam Gordon from the communications team at Twitter. If you are on Twitter, his handle is at Cam_Gordon. We are chatting about the rollout of safety mode, which is a new feature baked into Twitter. You mentioned that it will automatically do a lot of this work for you behind the scenes, but will users be prompted to enable this? I think you said earlier you go into the settings, if that's correct. And is this only if Twitter detects potentially harmful tweets? Otherwise, you don't notice a difference?
Yeah, just so to answer both questions, this is something that people have to proactively change in their settings. So they won't get prompted, if they're all of a sudden they're getting a lot of interactions. It's not like a window will pop up and say, hey, you might want to consider going into safety mode. But really, I mean, that frankly, that's part of my job as a communications person, just for people to know that option is out there. And you'll have seen us tweeting about this. There's a whole blog post about this. We're tweeting it from our safety handles. And I mean, something else that's important to point out for this too, because again, this is all by algorithms. So this is Twitter detecting activity with certain accounts that seems to be, I'll just say kind of the broad bucket of inappropriate. Again, that could be a language-based thing based on keywords. That could just be about activity of an account. If we see, this wave of replies coming in, it's like, okay, this looks like something's going on here. We're going to auto block that. Now, within that, a couple of things that are important to point out with the auto block feature. One, accounts you follow or accounts that we see you're already interacting with, a lot will not be auto blocked. So those will be off limits because, we're seeing, okay, these are accounts that are kind of in your sphere of conversation or they're accounts you follow. Now, there's always the possibility we could auto block something in error. At any time, you can go in and said, no, you shouldn't have auto blocked that. I'm just going to un-auto block that. Mm-hmm. So you will have a degree of control over that, even within these algorithms. Important part to call out, just in case anyone's listening to this on the internet, we're actually just testing this in 6 different markets right now. So that's the US, Canada, UK, Ireland, Australia, and New Zealand. So basically 6 primarily English language markets. We're seeing how it goes. We're doing a rollout of about 50% of accounts currently, and we're going to see how it plays out and if we need to fine tune it a bit before we go to a broader rollout. But obviously, with features like this, it's getting people's feedback. Are these useful both from our own research and also just what we're seeing people, their reactions. I mean, Mark, you've been on Twitter a long time. Week to week, it's a different experience because we're always iterating on that more fulsome Twitter experience.
Speaking of which, if our listeners want to weigh in on what they think of safety mode, maybe they've been using it. I'm on Twitter at Mark_Saltzman, Mark with the C_SALTZMAN. Love to know what you think. And again, Cam Gordon's been our guest, Cam_Gordon on Twitter as well. And before we wrap up, Cam, can you pull the curtain back on any other new Twitter features that you may be unveiling in 2022?
Oh, well, that's so you're looking for some kind of exclusive.
Would be nice. Anything like that would be nice. Whatever you're allowed. I don't want you to get in trouble, but anything you're allowed to share. I know a lot of our listeners are on Twitter, so
of course. I mean, I'll say one thing to look for, and this is this year, and I think we'll see a lot of this even beyond this year as well. More and more integrations with things like cryptocurrency and all blockchain technology. I mentioned off the top, you can now change, if you're a Twitter Blue customer, you can have an NFT profile photo. You may have seen recently, you can now, we have our tips feature, right, where if you're a creator and you want to, give if you're, say you're a musician or some kind of digital creator or maybe a comedian or something, you can put your tip jar. You can actually pay tips in a number of different cryptocurrencies. So Bitcoin and Ethereum and some of the other major ones. So we've got that integration. We've actually just created our entire wing of our engineering team to focus on blockchain technology. So, I think you were seeing this with Twitter, and we're seeing this with a lot of the social media companies, frankly, where you are seeing that deeper integration with the whole blockchain crypto world and these services that we've all used now for a couple of decades. So that's been really interesting to observe from the inside what that has looked like, and stay tuned for more, because I think it's just going to become a bigger part of the experience, even though, Jack Dorsey's not our CEO anymore, right, and is deep in this world. We still have this huge team internally where this is a big focus. So I'll say that's definitely one area you'll be seeing some stuff in the coming months and years to come.
Awesome. Cam, it's been great chatting with you. Thanks so much for carving out some time to share what's new with the safety mode feature. I'm going to give that a shot. Thanks again. Be well.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. And thanks again for all the tweets over the years. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Hey, thank you for tuning in to Tech It Out, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this new episode. A huge thank you to ASUS, the title sponsor on this program, as well as to Western Digital, the parent company to WD and SanDisk. Awesome solutions for backing up your computer's important files. I like those SSDs or solid state drives opposed to an external hard drive. So have a stellar week ahead, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I look forward to catching up with you next weekend for another episode of Tech It Out on the Radio American Network. Ciao for now.